All right, we're on to segment number 9 of the video series here, and we're going to be talking about various sub-accounts in the 401k. You can have one 401k, and like, for example, your wife could have her vein, and you could have your vein, and then you could even choose to Rothanize some of it or not. So where do we start in these sub-accounts?
Woo! This is going to be a fun time, Mitch. Hang on.
Hey, we're going to try to make this fun, okay? But it's really not fun, but it's something you're going to need to know. And it's important, and you'll make you money, but it's not like the most,
Yeah.
It's not the most gregarious topic in the whole
It really is not. It really is not. Here's the thing. Whenever people say 401k account, everyone thinks, oh, it's just a 401k. There's all sorts of sub-accounts there. So whenever you say, oh, I'm going to set up a 401k or a Roth 401k, that's shorthand for saying, I'm going to set up a retirement plan, and it's going to have a traditional 401k account. And I'll talk about what 401k means in just a little bit. And then, it also has a Roth 401k account. It also has a profit sharing account, because every single 401k is a profit sharing plan too. You'll see the title of these things is 401k PSP, and the PSP stands for profit sharing. So we have the traditional, the Roth 401ks, we have a profit sharing account, we then have rollover money. Whenever you roll over money into it, it's going to have its own separate account. And then also there's a neat way of adding money in called after-tax contributions, which nobody does, but there's a little account inside there too. And by the way, whenever I'm saying we have all these accounts, that doesn't mean you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different accounts at the bank. You're just going to have one big account, and then you're just going to keep track of everything with a spreadsheet about, is this traditional 401k money? Is this profit sharing money?
So it's like coding in your accounting software. You're coding this thread this way, you're coding that thread that way. So when you get into your QuickBooks or whatever, you just code every path or every thread with a different code, and it's easy enough to keep the books on it, right?
That's all you do. That's all you do. We just want to make people aware that if we say 401k account, a lot of people say, I need to go set up a Roth 401k now. No, you don't. You already have that embedded. That it's already available to you inside this account.
This is really important because when you get the 401k, that's the only account you need now, because you can open up traditional lines of investment, a Rothanized line of investment where you've paid with after-tax dollars and you won't have to pay anything when you take it out. We'll talk about maybe the differences in that later. But you really only need this one account, and then you can start to get her retirement money thread, my retirement money thread. You can open up a whole bunch of different threads. What are some of the limitations? Or do we need to talk about the difference between a traditional and a Roth first?
The traditional and a Roth. I think a lot of people probably get it, but let's go through that. A traditional account, you get a tax deduction for putting the money inside of there. It builds up in this tax sheltered environment. And then whenever you take the money out, you have to pay ordinary income taxes on that. Okay, that's kind of cool. That goes back to the Warren Buffett example. We can still make a lot of big bucks there.
Okay, so let me break it down right there.
Yeah.
If you get a tax deduction when you put the money in, which means you take the money off your income when you put it into then you've postponed the tax, and because you had that tax savings today, you're going to have to pay when you're 59 and a half or whenever you take it out. You're going to have to add whatever you take out to your income that year, and you'll pay tax on it in that future date.
That's correct.
And that's just what the banks are advertising. Come down and get a tax deduction. It's like, that's not really the one you want, I don't think.
It isn't. But let me say, anytime you get a tax deduction, that's a good thing.
Well, let me just say this about that then too. When I first started out my career, I said, why the hell would I want to get a tax deduction today when I'm going to get taxed tomorrow, which we all guess the taxes will be higher tomorrow, right, than they are today. But then, 15, 20 years later, I'm in this big tax bracket, making bigger amounts of money, and I cherish the money that I can get the tax deduction off of my income this year and postpone that tax in that 401k thread for another year. What is it? Defer,
Yep.
die. Job well done. Although I like Tim's better. Just don't pay taxes. Just legally don't pay taxes because you know what you're doing.
Thank you for putting in the legally part.
Yeah, legally don't pay taxes.
Yeah. And how do we do that?
We do that by learning how to use our self-directed retirement plans to our benefit.
In particular, Mr. Roth.
Mr. Roth. So Roth is, can I make a run at this? You correct me.
Please.
Roth is, let's say you make $1,000 and then you go ahead and you pay $300 taxes and you're left with $700, and you put in after-tax money into the account. Because you paid that $300 tax today, if you grow that $700 to $1 million or $1 billion over the lifetime of your investing career, you could take it once you're vested, or it's matured 59 and a half in most cases. You could take it all out at one time and never pay tax on it because you started this retirement plan with after-tax dollars. You paid the tax and you dealt with what was left over. Did I do it layman's term?
Did a great job. You front-loaded the taxes, so all the back end's tax-free.
This is a personal story, but I've opened up, before I knew about the 401k, I had opened up several Roths for different reasons. And I never put any more money than about $250 to get them started. At the time, that was kind of the minimum what we could put in. By the way, we'll talk about what is the minimum. But so I put in $250, and I would never put anything else again into this retirement plan of my own money out of my paycheck. Now I would take that $250 that was in there, and that's what this video series is really about. We're going to get to it in the future. What do you do with $250? Most people go, well, how in the hell do you grow $250? You can't do anything. Even if it makes 25%, it's going to take forever, you know? But there's ways to grow this money exponentially. It's all about leverage and control, and sometimes it takes just a little bit to leverage or control something. And then you can make a lot.
Totally agree.
Yeah, so I mean, I leveraged hundreds of houses with a $10 earnest money contract. So for a short period of time, 30 days, 45 days, I was in control of what happened to that property for $10. So if you think you're getting close to how I grew my retirement plans, you're getting close. In the early stages of a career, I think it's really smart that you Rothanize everything, right? But in a later stage in the career, you're going to kind of want that tax deduction ability of the traditional.
Very much so. I tell everybody, if you are in the higher tax brackets, go for the tax deduction up front. There's other things we can do later on to get them over to the Roth, but get the tax deduction up front with the traditional, and later on we can look at moving that stuff over to the Roth.
You know, these days, I was able to put in about $26,000, $27,000, and then my company matched it, and then my wife was able to put in that much, and the company matched her, so we were able to write off $107,000 off our income. Never thought I'd see the day, never even could see that far in the beginning, so I had everything Rothed until a certain point in my career, and I thought, man, I do need that traditional side. So what's the income limitations to be able to open up one of these? Is there an income limitation?
No, there's no income limitations whatsoever, and that's the cool thing too about the 401k. With a Roth IRA, if you make over $100,000 a year, you can't set up a Roth IRA. With a Roth 401k, if you make over $500 million, congratulations, you can still set up a Roth 401k. So there's no income limitations.
So you're saying set up that Roth 401k thread inside the 401k.
Inside the larger.
Get this, if you make over $100,000 a year, you can't set up a Roth IRA. But if you set up a 401k, you can Rothanize any amount of money you want to inside there when you want to, no matter what your income limit is.
Correct.
This is a really big advantage for people out there that make a lot of money.
Yeah, big time. And let's talk about how you trace it too, by the way. Because a lot of people say, okay, how does the government know that I'm making these contributions into the 401k plan? Well, that comes back to that exciting stuff we were talking about with the forms on the salary deferral agreements. You need to fill out a salary deferral agreement saying how much of your salary you're going to put in each and every year into the retirement plan, the 401k, whether it's traditional money or Roth money. And we've got a video that walks people through how to fill out that form and everything to make it as simple as possible. So those are the main accounts, if you will, of the 401k. We got the traditional 401k, we got the Roth 401k, we got the profit sharing, and we got the after-tax money.
Rollover.
Oh yeah, and the rollover account. And then rollover account, we keep track of that by we have to show a rollover certification saying, hey, as the trustee of the retirement plan, we've accepted this money, and we have another form to fill out for that, and we have a video showing how to fill out that form to show the paper trail of that money.
Just so people know, rollovers, correct me if I'm wrong, but like let's say you work for a company and you had a 401k with your company and maybe that company matched you, maybe they didn't match you, whatever it is. They're investing whatever that money is that's in there. They're in control of what it's invested in for the most part. And you quit that company, or you get vested, or you retire from that company, or you get fired from that company, and it's time for you to move along for whatever reason, and you got to, you have to take that 401k and put it someplace, right? I guess you could leave it there. Can you usually leave it with the company, or?
You could leave it there, but why do you want to let someone else have control over your money?
Yeah, right. So even if you can leave it there, you'd want it self-direct. You want to get these funds under your direct supervision so that you can self-direct them, so that you decide what your money goes into. You decide what's risk averse or what's not risk averse. You decide what's reasonable rate of return or what's not a reasonable rate of return. And you just get in control of your own money. Because I can tell you this, no one cares about your money more than you. And certainly if you got fired from a company, they're not really going to be worried about your retirement plan or what they had over there. So that's called a rollover. You just roll it over. It's, like we said, a non-taxable event. Roll it over into a different 401k custodian. Is that what it is?
Oh, we don't even need a custodian for the 401ks. Just roll it over to your 401k at the checking account, and bam, you're off to the races.
Open up a new checking account, one of those banks that we talked about, or one that, maybe at the time when you decide to do this, it's different banks or a different bank as it comes up. But anyways, you just roll it over. What's the maximum amount you're allowed to put in these? Is it time to talk about that?
It really isn't, man.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You're just ahead of your time, that's all.
Yeah, I'm ahead. I always want to know these things. I want to know these things for myself.
I think we're good on this section.
Oh, we are?
And so we're ready to roll it on into the next section.
Okay, so number 10 is Roth conversion.